My name is Bilal, CEO and co-founder of EasyCare Labs. I'm here today to answer some commonly asked questions that I've been getting in the last couple of weeks. So I've compiled a list instead of repeatedly answering the same questions over and over again. Now you can share this video. First and foremost, in regards to one of the most common questions I've been getting lately, and I wasn't sure if I was being trolled at first, but I was being asked, is Chinese food safe to eat? If they're following standard protocol in the United States in regards to food hygiene and whatnot, yes, there's no problem. If anything, you should be taking it to go. Maybe get some good broccoli and mushrooms, right? Or bok choy. The other question I have that I get a lot is it spread via feces and poop? So at first I was a little confused about why I was getting this question so frequently, and I asked one person, like, what's up with the question? So they basically asked, why are people running towards toilet paper and stockpiling it? There's several reasons for it, but actually, believe it or not, this question was a bit more interesting than they realized, because one of the things that if you are actually housed with someone or you're sharing a space with someone who is contaminated or is infected with COVID, or any basic, we're talking about dealing with pandemics, right? So there is a possibility of sharing the bathroom and have that transferred via that way, because every time you flush the toilet, especially the little lid that most people aren't aware of, most people don't really pay attention to it unless you're closing it. But with the way I was typically supposed to be done is that you close the lid, then you flush. As I was getting asked this question, I started asking more people, and I found out they usually flush the toilet with the lid open, and that creates a plume, and basically fecal matter gets everywhere. So basically close the lid and also follow proper sterile technique. But that was actually an interesting question that had deeper implications than I originally thought at first. Is this a boomer cleaner? Yeah, so that's another question I'm getting in regards to boomers and elderly, and basically they're talking about survival of the fittest and what. Don't be a jerk. It's pretty simple. We all got to take care of each other, and don't go around saying horrible things like that. Because one of the other things is, like, I had this young man yesterday actually running around telling me that he won't be affected. But the problem right now that's happening with the people that are asymptomatic carriers is that they can affect others. So stay at home, play some video games, I don't know, do something that you find pleasurable at home. Anyway, what can I do to help? So some people have become very antsy, and that's a very common question I'm getting right now. What can I do to help? I know the simple answer is a lot of people are going to just say stay at home and flatten the curve and all that good stuff. But at the same time, I understand that people have a feeling that they need to do something, that they need to help others. Especially right now, this is severely impacting the extremely impoverished. So this is a really, really big problem that people don't realize what they're doing right now. For example, with the whole rush towards canned goods, a lot of this stuff is basically Wix food, and people who could afford better food basically didn't buy and bought out all the food that most of the poor ate, which ended up when they went, they can't afford the good stuff essentially, and now they're overwhelming the food banks, and then the food banks don't have enough food. It's just like this whole domino and it's this whole cascade that's happening right now. So one of the biggest things is, if you can afford fresh food right now, buy it, eat it, it's very good for you. And also at the same time, don't hoard, don't panic, because when you start hoarding, you start to create a downward side, unintended side effects basically. There's also another thing in regards to the elderly. So a common question I've been getting is about the elderly being afraid to touch the handlebars as they're climbing stairs because of COVID. Let me tell you, if you fall, that's going to be far worse. And a lot of the elderly were telling me about how they're very concerned about passing away due to COVID. Let me explain to you. If you fall down a flight of stairs at the age of 80, there's a lot of things that can go wrong there. So grab onto the handle rail, hold on, climb carefully, and then when you reach the top, get some hand sanitizer. Or ideally, you should be washing your hands for all people. ideally washing your hands with proper technique, and there's tons of YouTube videos on that, so go ahead and watch it. It's a lot of fun, especially the one with the paint, right? So that's pretty demonstrative, or demonstrative, depending on who pronounces that, right? But ideally, you want to keep the hand sanitizer for situations where you do not have access to easy soap and water. So if you have access to soap and water, that is best because you can rinse off the particulate matter. So the other thing is that people are staying indoors and basically isolating themselves. They have to also understand how important vitamin D is towards their immune system. So basically getting some sunlight. I've gotten this question quite a bit in regards to vitamin D supplementation. The research is not really showing that it does a whole lot, to be honest with you. Now, if you can get access to direct, fresh sunlight, go for it. I mean, be out in the sun. Not outdoors. I mean, like maybe on your balcony or open the window or something. Get some vitamin D on your face. But in regards to supplementation, like I said, the research, if you look at it, it's not really tremendously promising in that respect. Now, another common question I get is, does kale have any antiviral properties? No, not directly. Kale, as well as the brassica family, they're well known for their immune boosting properties, but it directly does not have an antiviral effect. So eating healthier in general, I mean, it's one of the best things to do for your body. It's like looking at your building blocks and basically say, oh yeah, let me put the best possible material so I can build the best possible system, right? So eating well is very, very important, especially if you can do so and you can afford to do so. Now, one of the biggest immune boosters that everyone seems to be overlooking at this particular point in time, especially if you observe the trends on social media where people are staying up longer than usual, anxiety, stressing themselves out, amongst other things, sleep. Sleep is free. You don't need to pay me, you don't have to pay anyone. Maybe you can pay NyQuil if you if you want to use them, or Tylenol PM or ibuprofen, like Motrin PM or something, so you can pay them. But in general, sleep is going to help bolster your immune system in more ways than one. To give you a brief overview of that, essentially, when you're awake, it's like you're getting in your own way and interfering with your own immune system. When you're knocking out, when you're asleep and you're resting, essentially you're boosting numerous things, including growth hormones. So basically, rest, especially if you're not starting to feel well and stuff like that. That's going to help you quite a bit. Let's see. And I already talked about fresh fruits and vegetables. The other thing is, when it comes to sleep, as I was mentioning, that be sure to have your blue light filter on. So also limit your cell phone use. Try to, especially now if you don't have to work and you have a lot of free time on your hands. I know it's tempting to go on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, but at the same time, try to limit that as much as possible and use the blue light filter towards the evening, so that way you don't mess with your natural sleep cycle. So you can actually sleep during the night and then be awake during the day. Social distancing, I get this question a lot because they're talking about the foot shaking and the elbows. To be quite frank with you, you're still touching, you're still getting within that 6 foot zone. Look, I'm laughing because social distancing, some people have basically took it as like an excuse to be an asshole. Don't do that. I would tell you, go ahead and spread air hugs. That's so much more chill, like that's way better. And then instead of getting up in each other's faces and doing kicking and whatever. So social distancing is very, very, very important, and make sure that you are actually practicing it. Because it's one of the ways to flatten the curve, right? But at the same time, like if you want to express your affection for somebody, you can be like virtual hug or air hug, or I don't know, send text hugs to each other and smile. Smiling is free. You can do that anytime. So that's pretty simple. Now, let me take a look and see some other common questions I have. So I already mentioned the elderly falling down more because they're not holding onto the handrail. So basically, if you have elderly parents or uncles or aunts or anything like that, talk to them. Tell them, don't be afraid to hold the handrail. Hand sanitizer, everyone's talking about that. They asked me questions about, it's at least 60%. I mean, there's numerous guidelines. People way smarter than me because I'm not a virologist or an epidemiologist. So one of the things is to listen to what they're saying, and basically there's tons of information out there, especially on proper technique. Again, as I said before, hand washing is ideal if you can do it with soap and water. And if you don't, let's say you're a courier or you're a driver or a truck driver, hand sanitizer is fantastic for you, but don't hoard. Oh yeah, what is immunocompromised versus immunocompetent? So the main reason why this question is becoming more and more prominent is because the media is talking about those people who are the elderly as well as immunocompromised. If you don't know what immunocompromised is, you probably don't have to fall into the category that's going to worry. Immunocompromised people who are actually immunocompromised, they know it because they're dealing either with severe diabetes, asthma, cancer. So in other words, you know what you need to do usually because your doctor will give you the protocol, and you should be talking to your doctor frequently, especially if you fall into that category. Immunocompetent, all that basically means is that your immune system is functioning normally, and most people, even though they'll have some symptoms and such, they should generally be okay, hopefully, depending upon how this mutates. Anyway, I think that's it for now. I want to go play some video games and other stuff like that, but before I end this video, I want to talk to everyone about caring for one another. This is something that's super duper important that keeps popping up. I'm seeing this from a different lens than most people, where I'm seeing how it's affecting the extreme poor, and it is deeply affecting the extreme poor in this country. So we have to be careful and have to be mindful of one another. Thank you for watching, and be safe, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.